everybody. Welcome to Amazing You podcast and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. And in each episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads on and emerged victorious. Our aim is to be a beacon of inspiration, offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. I would like to say a huge thank you to all the viewers and the listeners who have been watching for the past 4 years. Thank you for watching, sharing, listening, and subscribing. And for anybody who is new, it's your first time, very warm welcome to you. So please remember to subscribe and to like and share the channels. So I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars, Venus, life and relationship coach, tarot reader, astrologer, past life regression practitioner, chakra practitioner, breathwork coach, and life force compassion practitioner. And today I am very, very excited to introduce you to my very special guest. Her name is Sally Ross. Sally is a somatic healer and certified integrative health coach. She's based in Victoria, British Columbia, which is Canada, for those who don't know. And she supports clients navigating chronic pain, anxiety, and trauma to reconnect with the innate intelligence of their body for release and healing. And Sally trained in compassionate inquiry with Dr. Gabor Maté and certified in Dr. Zach Bush Intrinsic Health Model. And she blends trauma-sensitive care, somatic tracking, and intuitive energetic guidance. So welcome to Amazing You, Sally.
Thank you so much, Rani. I'm so excited for our conversation and for our guests to be able to glean all this nourishment that we're sharing together today. So thank you for having me.
You are very welcome, Sally. It's a great honor to host you on the podcast. And thank you for taking the time today to speak to the audience.
Mm.
You know, the first time we got connected through Anastasia, that I would like to thank her for connecting us. And when I saw your photo, I was so impressed by your calm energy, your gentle energy, and that's what made me curious to know more about what you do.
Mhm. Oh, that's
So,
so sweet. Actually, I love that you say that. And even having that little part of my bio read back to me, I suddenly felt this like sense of calm inside myself. And because you read so slowly, I was really able to be with the description in a way that helps me affirm for myself why I'm here and what I'm offering. So thank you for that. Yeah.
you're welcome.
Mm.
So, Sally, my first question to you, and I'm sure everybody wants to know more about your journey. So, can you share a bit about your journey and what led you to become a certified integrative health coach, and how those experiences, your personal experiences, have shaped your approach to healing and counseling?
Mhm. Yes, so I need to put my very long 35-year journey into as short of a soundbite as I can because I do want to focus on how I work coming out of this, which is, my life experience, as you know, with all your guests. It informs so much of how we're able to support other people in realizing how amazing they are, what magic we are as human beings. So I had a major nervous and immune system trauma at the age of 15, and that was an event that basically changed the whole trajectory of my life. I began, it affected my mental health as well as my digestive and nervous system health in a very significant way. And there were many, many years that I was extremely unwell and in excruciating pain, but I still had youth on my side. So I was searching for answers, but I was still able to, really push through and keep doing the things and try to live the best life I could, despite how unwell I felt without any known causes. And when I was 23, that was the next layer where I got hit with this very quickly a form of neurological pain that was rooted in my abdominal cavity and began to send firing, overwhelming, excruciating electrical signals throughout my vagal nerve system, through my throat, into my brain and eyes. And this was the beginning of when I literally was fighting for my life every hour of every day and night. I did not have any relief from that pain for 28 years, despite doing all the right things and having a very, deep spiritual practice as well. I really maintained my faith in my ability to find my way through this. In 2016, I was finally given a diagnosis that was able to provide at least a dependable, possibly, course of treatment, and that was Lyme disease. So I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. I worked extensively with a naturopathic doctor for the next number of years. Um, that ND told me that I was one of the sickest patients he'd ever seen, and basically my whole life was about my healing and trying to find my way into a level of comfort and energy that would make life worth living. And finally, sort of like the needle in the haystack that was found in early 2023. This is through a series of very serendipitous events. And, at a certain point, as we all know, those of us that have struggled chronically for a long time, we just start to really open ourselves up to, there's so much more here I'm not seeing. There's endless amounts of these symptoms that I'm facing that I don't understand. But there is something here that is going to come available that I can know and understand how I'm going to be able to move forward. So I was finally diagnosed with, it's a very rare condition called medial arcuate ligament syndrome. That happened through working. There was no doctor in Canada that could diagnose or treat my condition. I ended up with a surgeon on the east coast of the US in Connecticut who also had a specialization in neuroscience, a PhD in neuroscience. Essentially, what had happened was there's this tiny ligament that sits at the back of our diaphragms, and I had this sort of anatomical abnormality called a low-lying diaphragm, where some of those structures ended up putting pressure down um, into the abdominal cavity in such a way that a very dense and complex bundle of nerves in the body, known as the celiac plexus, is actually the anatomical equivalent of our solar plexus. That's exactly where it's located. So that was found in surgery to be radically inflamed. So this ligament had essentially put pressure down on the artery under which this plexus, this nerve plexus sits, and it had crushed the celiac plexus. So that part of my anatomy was sending out mayday signals throughout my nervous system for decades. And so that surgery, which was very invasive, very intense, there was a major complication in surgery. It actually gave me a chance at life because the year leading up to surgery, I had actually come to peace with letting go. There was no way that I was going to be able to continue in the amount of torment that I was living. And so that was, without that surgery, I wouldn't be here and I would have let go of the body just because it was too much to live in my body. Um, and yeah, so it was a long rehabilitation process. And I had already become an integrative health coach about 4 years prior and had been working with some clients. But leading up to the surgery, I had to let that go. And then there was a long recovery process. Um, but also through that recovery, I really started to dive into the somatic healing work that I now focus on with my clients because the ability for me to truly listen and hear what my body was telling me had been covered up by like the intensity of what I was going through. And it was like truly out of desperation that I was living my life, just trying to find relief in the next hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. And yeah, there were some things that helped a little bit and other things that didn't help at all. And in the end, surgery was the only way forward for me. And finally, with that intervention, I got to really deepen into what I understand our bodies truly are in sickness and health and everywhere in between in terms of the the beautiful, magnificent beauty of what we are as living beings and how to communicate with that beauty, how to understand it, how to glean insight and lessons and guidance from the intelligence of our energetic anatomy, as Carolyn Myss loves to call it. So yeah, so that's what brings me here, and then realizing how much this inner listening skill that we have not been taught, we've not been given that as a way to typically understand ourselves. That skill is so often covered over by ingrained or repeated nervous system patterns of holding and protection that served us well, especially if in our childhood we encountered certain kinds of traumas or ways that we weren't celebrated or held in our authenticity so that we could be fully feel that we can be ourselves freely. Um, those patterns are what need to be understood and given attention and compassion, and that way the parts of us that are trying so hard to help us in the ways that they have adapted to that may not no longer be serving us, it may actually be negatively impacting our health, that those can be freed up to give us more energy and other ways of healing, other ways of feeling our ability to strengthen, regenerate, rejuvenate, grow with health and vitality. So anyway, long description of your first question, but here we are, here I am, and so grateful to be in service to this, what I see as somatic medicine. We're just really scratching the surface, I believe, of this potential in us to become sovereign in our healing through our own innate wisdom.
Thank you so much, Sally. I 100% agree with how how the healing the body help us in some ways to reconnect
Mhm,
and to reconnect with the true essence of who we are and to really get to understand our body, to listen to it so
mhm,
that we can start to become that sovereign being. That's so, so
mhm,
true. Yeah.
mhm, mhm,
Your journey it's been a really hard one,
mhm,
through going through so many years
mhm,
of chronic pain in the body, which I think it's really, you've been very, very brave, very strong to go through that. And now you can use those experiences. That's what you are doing to help other people. And I've been going through a very challenging times as a child,
mhm,
and having done a lot of healing the past few years. And now when I look back, I realize that if I haven't experienced all this, I wouldn't have the compassion to understand other people. And I'm sure it's the same for you,
mhm,
because
mhm,
as we experience all those challenging situations, we develop more compassion towards ourselves first, which is the self-compassion,
mhm,
and then we have a better understanding of what others are going through, even if we can't be in their shoes,
mhm,
because
mhm,
everybody go through their own journey. But it definitely helps in in helping others in
mhm,
some way
mhm,
to
mhm. Yes.
find a way to heal themselves.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes, that's so beautiful. And I do believe that through that adversity and through the creative experimentation that so many of us have to go through, because eventually we realize that our journey is unique and special and that we've tried many things to find answers. And many of us do find necessary answers, which is wonderful. And some of us go through all this journey and we're still left feeling like we're just not finding our way. And in that scenario, meeting with someone who has that listening capacity, where even, you know, right now the field that you and I are generating in this conversation is emergent. It allows something new to arise that we didn't even know was available before. And so it's in that relating space where that listening, um, it literally can get underneath what's going on, so that that deep place of that ground or that groundedness can allow a great sense of safety for whatever is being met in the moment by the client, and with our support, uh, that that meeting can emerge with new capacity, new insight, new ability for us to at least thank our bodies for everything that our
Mm.
bodies have tried and worked so hard for us to keep us safe, right? And to help us survive. So that's one of the beginning places that we can suddenly have this, oh my gosh, wow, what a miracle, an incredible miracle that I'm here.
Oh,
Hmm.
yes, yeah.
Hmm.
And when I hear you speaking, I know you've trained with Dr. Gabor Maté, but it's as if I'm hearing his words coming from your mouth.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he does explain it very similar in the
Mm.
very same way that you did. Yeah.
Mm.
And you've mentioned that often that trauma is rooted, that the root source that trauma is caused by chronic disease, pain, and mental health. Can you, Sally, explain the connection in more detail
Sorry, the connection between chronic
between
pain disease and what, sorry?
trauma, how it is connected to the root cause of chronic disease?
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah. And thank you for bringing up Gabor. There's so many
Mm,
um, basic foundations and principles of the compassionate inquiry approach that we could bring in. But
yes.
um, one of the things that he always says that brings so much hope is that he helps us redefine trauma by saying that trauma is not what happened to you, it's what happened inside of you because of what happened to you. And that is very good news because
Mm,
it means I have agency to transform it. I can't change what happened to me, but I have the ability to transform my relationship with what I am sensing and feeling in a certain kind of pattern that's no longer adaptive to the true reality of my life. Let's say that's so often the case. We're that trauma, however that occurred to us, and trauma covers the whole range from
mm,
severe sexual or violent abuse to just very subtle forms of neglect where we weren't given the freedom to fully be ourselves, to fully be authentic. And then as young beings, the most important need we have is for safety and survival.
mm,
And so we will, without knowing it, without having the conscious awareness, we will shun away our authenticity in order to maintain those attachment relationships safely, as safely as we possibly can, or to ensure that we're loved or to ensure that we're cared for. And so, what we're essentially doing when we do the somatic work is uncovering a form of sovereignty in our authenticity that allows us to trust who we truly are and be able to respond to life from that place, rather than the places in us that were developed to protect us from how our authenticity might have been perceived, or how it might have been judged, or how we might have been told that it wasn't okay for us to be who we are. um, and so um, that way of receiving teachings from our primary caregivers, all of our parents did their best. They're also, we're dealing with epigenetic trauma, and especially in this culture, in terms of the lines of how those skills of teaching children how to love themselves weren't necessarily handed down to our parents. Um, but the authenticity that we develop in especially tuning into the body at its level of pure sensation, where within that we can take away all the labels, all the belief systems. We certainly uncover belief systems that have been holding us back or have been helping us keep that armor or bracing so that we maintain our safety, though it's causing us to have health problems. But we shed all of the diagnosis, all of the concepts, and we see ourselves as we truly are, as a pure expression of this moment energetically. Um, Carolyn Mace is one of my favorite teachers these days that I listen to a lot, and she has declared that the body doesn't actually have a history, which is very interesting. Because we could say, on one hand, our bodies leading up to where we are now are our history. Or sorry, how would I say it? They're like a reflection of everything that came before us to make us who we are now. Yet at the same time, if we observe ourselves non-conceptually in this moment, there's an expression of different forms of energy, different textures, different vibrations, different colors. Some energies are more prominent because they're dense or contracted or hot or tingly, right? So in being able to see ourselves in this pure form of energy, then we have the ability to work with that energy, not bringing in the historical trauma. Does that make sense? We don't have to drag that with us
Right.
to
Yes.
be able to be able to have our awareness such that we see who we are right now as
Mm-hmm.
I'm appearing as this beautiful sentient life with an energetic body. And we see that there's a capacity
Mm-hmm.
for those energies to transmute, transform, to show other facets of themselves. So, for example, when I work with clients, let's say we're working with one area where there's extreme chronic pain that's been held in the body. If we're able to stay with that and befriend it, welcome it, I mean, this is a very counterintuitive way of working. This is what we haven't been taught. But if we are able to at least trust that we're not going to die in the next 5 minutes if we stay with this thing, um, this pain, this discomfort, this terror, this whatever it is that we're feeling, um, we get to observe how energy is showing up as a changeable phenomenon, right? And it is through our awareness that we get to see how awareness itself makes that possible if I stay with myself, if I don't run away, if I don't resist, if I don't distract myself. That's not to say distraction isn't a very important and powerful tool at times. You know, we're always doing this little dance as we're attempting to recover from imbalances and pain and illness. But in this moment of practicing that I am willing to see myself exactly as I am, then certain things start to show up where energy shows more of its personality, let's say. So, an area of extreme density of pain, very contracted, if we stay with it, what often happens is the energy starts to disperse, the energy starts to spread, let's say, and that is actually life coming out of that area of profound contraction, density, holding to gift its own, you know, an aggressive pain is a very powerful energy, right? So it gets to show us that there's capacity for that to actually feed the system and nourish the system rather than steal from it or deplete it. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it makes 100% sense because I have experienced this with clients as well. When
Beautiful.
when we when we work together and really they get to feel those feelings wherever it is in the body
Hmm.
and really attend to it, give it some attention, be curious about it, where it is in the body,
Hmm.
the client is able to release it, to let
Hmm.
it go. And I have seen some of my clients being healed from terminal diseases
Wow.
from just doing that kind of work that you just
Hmm.
explained. Yes, and that is so beautiful to see,
Hmm.
that
Yes,
how
absolutely.
each one of us, when we are in that safe container, because it has to be in a safe container where you you feel you can open up, and that's when the healing will happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I 100% relate to that. So just
Mhm.
want to mm, tell people just in a few words that being in stillness and sitting with your feelings and feel the feelings, like Marisa Peer used to say, feel the feelings until it's no longer required to be felt,
Beautiful.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Because we, like you said, we tend to run away from our feelings. We push it down with food, with addiction, with shopping. But now we live in a society that have conditioned us to live like that, rather
Mhm.
than sitting in stillness, in silence, and feel what the body, the messages our body is telling us. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think the important thing too with extreme trauma is that
Mm.
in the relational container of the coaching or counseling, it means that we get to we get to offer our clients a way of feeling their feelings that allows them a gentle entry point into that place. So I love how Peter Levine calls this pendulation, where like we might just touch up at the edge or the boundary of where the pain is felt. And we might just stay right there for a bit. We don't need to push it. We don't need to go inside. That pain is maybe not ready to fully release yet. And then we just go to that edge of our comfort zone, and then we get to just pull back and return to a state of letting that tiny little bit of attention unravel itself a little bit, right? So we don't want to push the client too fast or too hard. Um, I know that with trauma, we truly do become afraid of our feelings because they're just too intense and too strong, and so we have to be able to teach ourselves gently and um, I guess I would say strategically, but just essentially how to open up the gateways for the transformation to happen at the pace that the body wants, rather than, our attempt through any mental perception of what we're doing or how we're doing it to force something to happen. And that would just create more of that place in ourselves that's holding to pull back and not reveal itself in that state of being under pressure. Um, yeah. So, and of course, our respiration is a very important component of an inner resource and a gift that we can utilize. I don't typically offer specific breathwork practices, but I do encourage the client to understand the basic principle of their breathing, how and on every inhalation, we're being nourished. That's a supportive function. That's an energizing function for the body. And on every exhalation, we have the ability to companion whatever may be being released. Um, and for that energy to just be given a little bit of an extra support to spread itself, to let go, to just relax into the moment in the body. So that nourishing and letting go rhythm is a really important part of, I believe, how we learn to let go of pain and our suffering that way. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sally. Yes, that's very valuable to what you just said and how important our breath is that we take it for granted.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And time is flying, like we said at the beginning before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
now I've got just two more questions, quick questions to
Sure.
ask you.
Sure.
How can the listeners and the viewers take the first steps towards reclaiming their own power and vitality, Sally?
Wow. That's a huge question. Geez. The first step would be to taking moments every day to realize I'm here. In the midst of all the very hard circumstances that so many of us are facing. This really is an unprecedented time in our civilization. There's chaos of all kinds that we're facing, and there is a place in us that we know to always be here. that is prior to, during, and after all phenomenon, all sensation, all circumstances, all relationships, even. And so, if we take a moment to be with that, it is a still moment, but it's a sudden stopping. Like in that in that checking in on that, we get to actually offer a little bit of a cue to the nervous system that we're repatterning things here. We're in a neuroplastic change in order to find more harmony, more balance, more freedom, more health. And so that is a number one first place. And I also always encourage that we need to remember that we are nature herself. We are inseparable from all of life. We are all of life. We can turn our attention into even just, there's simple things that we could even just put our practical minds to think about what makes us so magical and so sophisticated as nature's intelligence. Every bite of food that we place in our mouth, it becomes us. And it goes through all of these like thousands and millions of chemical reactions and all of the cellular responses that are responsible for digesting our food. And something else comes out the other end. And if we even put our mind to that for 1 second, it's like, oh my gosh, how does that even happen? So we have these little mind hacks that we can do that we finally settle into as the truth. Like, oh my gosh, I know I'm made of magic. I'm made of the whole cosmos. I am a living being. I am. And so those are the first places that I go. And to add to that, in terms of being nature, just touching the ground, grounding ourselves in pure grass, walking to a place where we can hug a tree or smell a flower, bringing a plant into our home that we can nurture. There's so many small things that help us connect to that remembrance where we don't keep forgetting that I am nature herself. I am.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. The I am, the I am presence. Yeah. So
Mhm.
many great teachers talk about that. And I'm really, really glad that you put that in very simple words and explained how we can practice that, like grounding, connecting with nature. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you so much, Sally.
Mhm.
Sally, my last question to you is how can people stay updated or get in touch with you?
Yeah. So my website is Reconnect in Healing inside, reconnectinhealing.ca. And that is the best way to find me. I offer 20-minute consultations. My sessions with clients that aren't in person are very effective by phone. So essentially, what happens is the client gets to lie down generally. Sometimes they're standing up too or sitting, but uh, normally will start lying down in their most comfortable position at home. We close down the visual field, so they might just close their eyes or even cover their eyes. And with the visual cues all removed, there's a much more profound capacity to enter into this present moment, somatic feeling, awareness, following, receiving, um, so that that whole world of our pure energy systems, our energetic anatomy, it starts to become more real in terms of how our awareness can support a transformation. So we go into very deep inquiry at that level. There's a lot of questions that we will ask of certain parts of the body. Um, one of my clients, I don't know if you've heard, I know you know internal family systems, but one of my clients has said that my work is like IFS for the body. And so we work with parts that way. And then those parts reveal more of themselves and reveal their connection with the body so that we start to see our body as a whole system again, rather than fragmented parts that have diagnoses or, separated, fragmented sensations. So reconnectinhealing.ca. And the other link I'm sharing with you right now is my blog site, which is called My Body, the Earth. And I haven't written on it for almost a year. I'm going to be adding some writing to it soon. But that is sallyross.substack.com.
That's
So,
fantastic, Sally. Thank you for sharing those links. And those links will appear below as well for anybody who wants to connect with Sally. Feel free to reach out and access any free resources that's on her website or to connect with her.
mhm.
Sally, it's been a pleasure having you today. There is
Thank you,
so
Rani.
much more to ask you.
Yes, yes, so much more. I feel we could talk for a long time. Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. You will, I would love for you to come again next year and to share more about your
Great.
work.
I would love to. Maybe
Thank
we could
you.
go into some specific examples of how clients have moved through their challenges. That would be great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And I wish you a lot of success.
Thank you, Rani.
You're welcome. And to everybody who is watching and listening, I would like to say a huge thank you for being here. And I would like you to remember that you are amazing. You have always been amazing, and you always will be amazing. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sally. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all for another episode. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.